Greetings, my name is Bruce, and I'm the moderator of the 218th General Assembly, and I am privileged to have the moderator of the
215th General Assembly.
The Reverend, are you a doctor?
Yes, but that doesn't matter.
The Reverend Dr. Susan Andrews.
Just Susan.
And took some time here. We were at an event, an evangelism event on growing the church deep and wide, and wanted to have a chance to talk with Susan a little bit and just ask some questions and see how it's what's going on in the church.
This is my first such event, so I'm pleased to be here.
And I have duly warned her that this is not edited at all. I've run into problems with that before. So can you tell us a little bit what you're doing now?
Sure. I am the General Presbyter of Hudson River Presbytery, which is a beautiful part of God's world. That's on both sides of the Hudson River, north of New York City. Okay. And it's 91 churches. Interesting place.
And how long have you been in ministry, and what other kinds of things have you done?
I've been ordained 34 years. I'm an old lady in this profession. I've served 4 churches. The most recent one, I was a pastor for 17 years in Bethesda, Maryland.
Cool. And some of you know, I think you were the last moderator to do one year, right?
And
so that means
I don't see how you guys do it.
Everything was packed into one year and all that.
Right. I was never home.
You were never. Yes, exactly. Well, we're hoping to change that a little bit. Tell me, we'll talk a little moderator stuff, and then we'll kind of do broader church. Can you, what were maybe one or two of the greatest joys about being moderator?
For me, I thoroughly enjoyed listening to people's stories and to the stories in the different churches and presbyteries, and then to be able to take those stories as I went around to other churches. Unlike some other moderators, including yourself, I sort of didn't pick where I went. I just sort of received invitations and ended up in a lot of little churches, anniversary churches. Went overseas. I love the overseas trip.
And where did you go overseas?
I went to Africa, Cameroon, Ethiopia, South Africa, and then to South America, to Venezuela and Colombia. I was the first moderator in 38 years to go to Colombia.
Wow.
That was quite something.
Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, so what were some of the struggles about being moderator? Just kind of what were the hard parts about it?
Well, that particular year, we were, of course, in the midst of all of this conversation about the ordination issue, as we have been for many years. But that was one of the years when the PUP task force had not yet completed its work.
So it was during that year?
It was during that year. In fact, it was their first year. And so I found myself in the crossfire all year long between the conservatives, the more progressives, and found myself trying to be a mediator and somebody in the middle. So I didn't really make anybody happy, but I found the conversation difficult, but also very helpful.
Now, did you, I've experienced people think I have a lot of power to actually do something about that.
Right.
I mean, what was your experience about people's expectations, and what were some real and what were not?
Well, I think for me the hardest thing is that because I, previous to being moderator, and in fact, when I was elected, made it very clear what my position was when asked. And yet once I became moderator, I wasn't there for a position. I was there to be moderator of all the people. So I think the hardest thing was for people who knew me and who felt that they understood where I was, that I wasn't willing to jump in their bandwagon and necessarily make sure that their perspective won.
You weren't there for one view.
And I spent a great deal of time reaching out to the more conservative wing of the church. And that was difficult because a lot of those people didn't want to talk to me.
Sure, yeah.
So that was difficult. But I think there were some instances where it worked very well. And I was able to help people come to a new place.
Good. Okay, as exciting as moderator talk is.
Yes, well, it will be over, Bruce.
It will be.
And as they say, the day you stop being moderator, it's like jumping off a cliff.
I could totally imagine. All of a sudden, nobody really wants to hear what you have to say.
That's right. They may not have wanted to hear it
in the first place, but they had to at some level.
That's right.
Well, tell me, so you've been in the church a while. You're now at a middle governing body. What are 2 or 3 things you're seeing that that are hopeful about the church right now?
Well, it's very much what you were preaching about tonight. I see the younger generation as coming in with a whole new energy and sense of commitment to communal, social, organizational life, although it's going to be very different than how we've known it. The whole generation theory, where now this new generation of millennials is going to be like the World War II generation, the civics. And so rather than the kind of individualistic generations we've been through, these folks are really going to be a new church if we can somehow get out of the way and kind of invite them in. And so I say jokingly in this Presbytery that my job is to turn the church over to the children, and I'm trying to get all of our younger leaders chairing our ministry teams, and so I find it so exciting.
What's our Presbytery is doing an okay job. I mean, with some of that. What are you hearing? People that are they all saying yes, I want to be part of it, or are they? What are the dynamics around that?
Well, the 12 to 14 pastors we have who are under 40, and I agree some of those are Gen Xers, they've actually formed a group where they meet together once every 6 weeks or so with all their kids. There are more kids than there are adults. And they just hang out together and support each other. And we've actually paid for babysitting for that group in order to encourage them to meet. Also, some of them are wanting to work outside the structure of the Presbytery in terms of doing missional type work. And so I'm trying to be a broker between the structure and these pastors because the money is with the structure, but they don't want to play the structure game. And so I understand both sides, and I'm trying to facilitate that.
What pushback do you get from anyone? I mean, what are the...
I think that because these younger pastors, and in this Presbytery most pastors are pretty progressive, but these younger pastors don't want to do the conservative liberal stuff. They don't particularly care about pushing the ordination issue. They're just into being missional. And so that's a different focus than what the traditional social justice focus of this Presbytery has been. So there's somewhat of a disconnect there, even though I think they're all probably with the same vision, but how they're going to get there is different. And so some of the older the baby boomer 1960s leaders at this Presbytery who have always been at the forefront are pushing back and are not too happy that we have not continued to make the ordination issue the most important issue. And that is not where I am. So.
Well, and I just echo. I think that's what we're hearing from both conservative and progressive folks. A lot of folks, we can live in that tension, and there's more important things. Okay, so you have the moderator mic. Let's say now, what's something you want to say to the church? What do you want the church to hear right now?
I believe that with the changes in our nation and with this recent election, that there is a willingness for people to have a sense of common good, common values. We have a window of opportunity here to reach out and really make ourselves known. I believe that the Presbyterian Church is I know labels don't mean a lot, but our tradition is a tradition of combining head and heart, combining justice with evangelism, of kind of being the place, the intersection where all of life comes together. I think we have a place for people who are re-engaging with the public good and re-engaging with the community. How do we tell our story in ways that people know we're there? How do we let people know we're around? How can we joyfully talk about being Jesus people without being afraid that we're going to be looked at as fundamentalists? We need to reclaim this radical rabbi named Jesus who stood for justice and peace and welcome and grace and honesty and truth. We have a story to tell that people are hungry to hear. And we need to figure out how to do that in our uniquely Presbyterian way.
Wonderful. So, thanks for sitting in a little bit.
It's wonderful you're doing a great job, Bruce.
Well, thank you.
I enjoy watching you from a distance.
Sure. And I will see you all next time.